What if I told you that hackers have stolen millions, maybe even billions, without ever stepping foot inside a bank or even leaving their homes? Sounds impossible, right? Well, it's not. In fact, it's happened more times than you can imagine. In our digital age, hackers are becoming more skilled and sophisticated, pulling off heists that seem straight out of a movie. Today, we're diving into the jaw-dropping world of cybercrime, where hackers use nothing but their computers to steal fortunes. From breaking into massive cryptocurrency exchanges to executing flawless scams on global banks, these criminals are rewriting the rulebook on how crime is committed. Stay tuned as we uncover how they did it and how they got away with it. The Silk Road, the hidden marketplace that stole billions. Let's rewind to 2011, when a mysterious website called Silk Road appeared on the dark web. At first, it seemed like just another marketplace. But soon, it became infamous. Why? Because it was no ordinary e-commerce site. It was a black market hidden away from the public eye, where you could buy anything from drugs and weapons to stolen data and fake IDs. The mastermind behind this illegal empire was a man known as Ross Ulbricht, operating under the alias Dread Pirate Roberts. He ran the entire operation from his laptop, never leaving his home. What began as a small venture quickly turned into a multi-million-dollar operation, raking in over $1 billion in sales annually by 2013. But it wasn't just the products being sold that made Silk Road dangerous. It was the level of secrecy. It was nearly impossible for authorities to track the transactions, especially since the platform used Bitcoin, a digital currency that allowed users to remain anonymous. This made it easier for people to conduct illegal activities without fear of getting caught. By 2013, Silk Road was booming, but nothing lasts forever. After a 2-year investigation, the FBI managed to track down Ross Ulbricht and arrested him in a San Francisco public library. Despite his arrest, the legacy of Silk Road lived on. It had set a dangerous precedent, showing cybercriminals that you could run a multi-million-dollar business, stealing from people worldwide, all while sitting comfortably at home. A teenager hacking his way to $50 million. Now let's talk about a 19-year-old from the UK who shocked the world by stealing $50 million from a global bank. And he did it from the comfort of his own bedroom. This teenager, known only as Ferris, wasn't a hacker by profession. In fact, he had no formal training. His journey into the world of cybercrime began when he got hooked on coding and started exploring the dark web. Ferris started small. He would test his skills on smaller, secure websites. But before long, his ambitions grew, and he targeted much bigger prey, a global bank. Using a technique known as phishing, Ferris tricked bank employees into handing over their login credentials. With this information, he gained access to the bank's internal system and began transferring huge sums of money into offshore accounts. The total amount stolen? A whopping $50 million. And all of this happened without Ferris ever leaving his room. He started flaunting his newfound wealth on social media, posting pictures of expensive cars and lavish vacations. But his arrogance became his downfall. Law enforcement caught onto Ferris' online activity. Despite his best efforts to cover his tracks using VPNs and encrypted accounts, authorities eventually traced him. In 2016, Ferris was arrested at his home. He admitted to the crime, claiming he was motivated by a desire for recognition in the hacker community. Ferris was sentenced to 12 years in prison for his actions, and his story serves as a reminder of how powerful and dangerous the internet can be in the wrong hands. The phishing scam that stole $30 million. In 2016, another group of cybercriminals orchestrated a massive phishing scam that targeted employees at a major financial institution. The hackers used cleverly crafted emails that appeared to come from trusted sources, convincing employees to reveal their login credentials. At first glance, these emails seemed legitimate, making it even harder for victims to recognize the danger. Once they had access, the hackers transferred millions of dollars to accounts they controlled, $30 million to be exact. What made this hack so impressive was that the criminals never physically set foot inside the bank. Instead, they used VPNs, encrypted communication, and the simple trick of human error to exploit the bank's vulnerabilities. It was a perfect storm of digital trickery and human trust, combined to carry out a flawless crime. It took months for the bank to notice the suspicious activity, but by then, the hackers had already laundered the stolen money. This attack was a clear demonstration of how even the largest financial institutions can be vulnerable to a well-executed phishing scam, where the weakest link is often human nature. This breach highlighted just how unprepared many companies are to defend against these types of attacks, leaving them open to the tactics of clever hackers. The flash loan attack, stealing $100 million in Bitcoin. In 2017, a group of hackers pulled off one of the most daring cyber heists in history, stealing $100 million worth of Bitcoin from a cryptocurrency exchange using a flash loan attack. A flash loan allows borrowers to borrow money without any collateral. And in this case, the hackers exploited a vulnerability in the cryptocurrency exchange system. They used this loan to manipulate the price of Bitcoin and siphon off massive amounts of the digital currency in a matter of minutes. What made this heist so difficult to trace was the decentralized nature of Bitcoin. The hackers moved the stolen funds across multiple wallets, making it nearly impossible for authorities to track where the money went. By the time the exchange realized what had happened, the Bitcoins were already laundered and untraceable. It was one of the largest cryptocurrency heists in history, and a wake-up call for investors and exchanges. Despite their best security measures, even cryptocurrency platforms are vulnerable to highly sophisticated cyber attacks. Carbanak, the hackers who stole over $1 billion. In 2013, a group of hackers known as Carbanak launched a massive cyber attack on over 100 banks worldwide. They used spear phishing emails to gain access to the bank's internal systems. Once inside, they used their knowledge of the bank systems to manipulate transactions and steal millions of dollars. The hackers were well prepared, knowing exactly how to exploit vulnerabilities in the systems they targeted. The hackers operated with extreme precision. They spent months monitoring bank employees, learning the systems, and identifying the best times to strike. They then executed a series of transfers, withdrawing over $1 billion from accounts around the globe. The attackers used ATM fraud, wire transfers, and even manipulated the bank's software to cover up the theft. They operated in silence, staying under the radar for months. For years, the Carbanak hackers operated undetected, and it wasn't until 2015 that authorities identified the group behind the attacks. Their digital heists demonstrated the growing threat of cybercrime, where hackers could steal millions without ever setting foot inside a bank. What was once a risk confined to physical heists now existed in a virtual space, where cybercriminals could cause widespread chaos from their own homes. The impact of cyber heists. What's truly frightening about these cyber heists is how easily hackers can slip under the radar. They use advanced methods to cover their tracks, relying on VPNs, encryption, and decentralized systems to keep their identities hidden. These criminals don't need a crew, they don't need guns, they just need a computer and the ability to exploit the smallest vulnerabilities. From phishing scams to flash loan attacks, hackers are constantly evolving, finding new ways to steal millions from the safety of their homes. These stories are proof that in the digital age, crime is no longer limited to physical heists. It's moved online, and it's more dangerous than ever. So what do you think? The world of digital crime is mind-blowing, right? If you want to learn more about how hackers and cyber criminals are constantly finding new ways to break the law, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And make sure you hit the bell so you never miss out on the latest shocking stories we uncover. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.